As the Chinese Communist Party increasingly becomes a global threat to peace and freedom, the United States is implementing a comprehensive containment strategy. This not only includes overt military deterrence, but also addresses potential covert threats. Recent leaks reveal that the CCP is preparing to secretly deploy up to 150,000 high-tech drones within the United States before the upcoming election, aiming to sow chaos on American soil. In response to this complex situation, the United States is ramping up vigilance and defense across the board. 1. Large-scale military exercises. The U.S. has recently conducted several massive military exercises targeting the CCP. The Brave Shield exercise held in Guam was a clear warning. On June 16th, the United States demonstrated astonishing strike capabilities. Using just 2 PRSM missiles from a distance of over 1,000 kilometers, they accurately sank the USS Cleveland, a ship with a displacement of over 17,000 tons. This strike range nearly covers the entire South China Sea, sending a clear message to the CCP that their Type 055 destroyers are vulnerable targets and could be easily destroyed at any time. Adding to the CCP's unease is the Rim of the Pacific exercise scheduled from June to August. The U.S. plans to sink an amphibious assault ship with a displacement of over 40,000 tons during this exercise, clearly targeting CCP aircraft carriers. The U.S. is testing and refining the most effective anti-ship missile systems in preparation for potential conflicts. 2. Military deployment in Guam. U.S. military deployment in Guam is a nightmare come true for the CCP. The U.S. has not only significantly strengthened its air defense system, but also deployed B-2 and B-1B bombers capable of delivering devastating blows to the CCP. These bombers can strike beyond defensive perimeters. It also has the ability to deploy AGM-158 Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missiles, JASSM, and even the hypersonic weapon AGM-183A. So the United States military can conduct devastating strikes on any target within mainland China from a safe distance. Adding to the CCP's military anxieties, the U.S. has deployed F-22 fighters at Tinian Island Airport north of Guam. Once barren, this airport has undergone a transformation and now serves as a weapon for the U.S. military in the Western Pacific. The F-22's capabilities are nothing short of terrifying. In one exercise, it successfully countered 36 F-16s, demonstrating unparalleled aerial combat powers. Even in close-range combat, it effortlessly defeated 3 F-16s. The F-22 excels not only in air combat, but also in reconnaissance, ground strikes, and even deploying nuclear weapons. 3. Deployment in the First Island Chain. The U.S. is constructing a steel Great Wall in the First Island Chain that the CCP cannot breach. This meticulously designed anti-ship missile network restricts the Chinese Navy's operational space. Japan's anti-ship missiles deployed on Miyako Island have extended their range from 200 to 1,000 kilometers, directly threatening China's eastern coast. The Philippines is also planning to introduce advanced anti-ship missiles from India, further tightening the encirclement of the CCP. The U.S. Marine Corps has introduced combat tactics that completely overturn traditional models. They employ innovative strategies like land-based and ship control. Deployed on various islands along the First Island Chain are numerous HIMARS systems. This high-mobility artillery rocket system is like lurking hunters, poised to deliver a deadly blow to China's Navy at any moment. This decentralized deployment of the U.S. military is a nightmare for the CCP. The People's Liberation Army cannot accurately locate U.S. positions, yet they feel surrounded and overwhelmed. This psychological pressure is perhaps more unsettling for the CCP's leadership than actual military threats. 4. High-tech weapon systems. The U.S. is developing a series of advanced weapon systems. The PRSM missile stands out with its long-range precision strike capability, making any military facility of the CCP vulnerable. Even more impressive is the Thunderhead high-altitude balloon system. Crafted from ultra-strong materials, they can cruise in the stratosphere at altitudes of 20 to 30 kilometers. They serve not only as communication relays for the entire battlefield, but can also maintain the communication network even if satellites are destroyed, completely thwarting any attempts by the CCP to sever U.S. military communications. The U.S. has made remarkable progress in autonomous systems and artificial intelligence technology. Indo-Pacific Commander Admiral Samuel Papero described the future battlefield as a hellscape filled with U.S. unmanned systems. The U.S. military drone fleet specifically targets these vulnerabilities, aiming to completely undermine the effectiveness of the CCP's human wave strategy. What really unsettles the CCP is the supersized unmanned submarine secretly developed in California by the U.S. These ghostly killers lurk quietly at depths of thousands of meters on the seabed, launching deadly attacks with advanced artificial intelligence systems. The CCP military is powerless to launch this invisible, intangible threat. Through these formidable military deployments and technological advancements, the United States is issuing an ultimatum to the CCP. Any military action against Taiwan will be tantamount to self-destruction. Senior U.S. military officials have made it clear that Beijing must recognize the reality. Any military venture targeting Taiwan will be regarded as a declaration of war against the United States. This firm stance is evident not only militarily but also politically. Recently, the U.S. has made a significant shift in its attitude towards Taiwan, with even previously ambiguous politicians becoming unusually assertive. Take former President Trump, for example. Remember his stance when he was president? He never explicitly stated that he would protect Taiwan, and always took a stance of strategic ambiguity. But now, at a fundraising event in early May, he declared that if China dared to invade Taiwan, he would send bombers to Beijing. Moreover, he even mentioned bombing Moscow, a stance so assertive it even shocked his supporters. Why did Trump suddenly change his stance? It's because he is most concerned about the U.S. stock market. When he was president, he tweeted over 100 times about record highs in the stock market. Now, where's the lifeblood of the U.S. economy? AI. He fully understands that the current landscape is completely different from the past. With the current military strength of the United States, bombing Beijing may indeed be virtually defenseless. Consider China's air defense systems. Beijing has deployed domestically developed HQ-9 systems and has also purchased the S-400 system from Russia at a high cost. In 2014, China spent $3 billion to acquire 6 sets of S-400 systems, which were then touted as the most advanced air defense systems in the world. But how have these expensive systems performed in actual combat? On the Ukrainian battlefield, these so-called cutting-edge air defense systems were easily overwhelmed. On May 15th, Ukraine successfully destroyed the S-400 systems at the Belbek Air Base in Crimea and in the Donetsk region. When faced with the U.S. Army's ATACMS tactical missiles, the S-400 systems proved completely incapable of interception. What's more worrisome is that the ATACMS isn't even the strongest missile in the U.S. This suggests that China's heavily invested air defense network may prove futile against advanced American weapons. So when Trump says bombing Beijing is feasible, it's not merely boastful talk. China's air defense systems could be ineffective against advanced U.S. missiles. This situation has clearly unsettled China. President Biden has also toughened his stance. He has stated 4 times consecutively that Taiwan must be protected. Both parties now recognize Taiwan as a core interest of the United States that cannot be surrendered to China. The military stance is even clearer. A former director at the Office of the Secretary of Defense stated that if the CCP dares to invade Taiwan, it would be equal to declaring war on the United States. Rear Admiral Mike Studeman, former commander of the Office of Naval Intelligence, has even proposed specific measures, deploying 2 carrier strike groups between the first and second island chains, initiating domestic military mobilization, and targeting key objectives in mainland China. He clearly warns that any move against Taiwan will trigger strikes on these targets. Scott Ritter, former senior intelligence officer of the Marine Corps, also stated that if China dares to invade Taiwan, the United States can intervene from northern Japan, southern Philippines, and even eastern Taiwan. He mentioned that detailed operational plans are already in place for such scenarios. Now, the U.S. strategy is crystal clear, directly warning China not to act recklessly or else the U.S. will intervene. Whether in politics or in the military, the message to Beijing is consistent, emphasizing the seriousness of the situation and urging Beijing to weigh the consequences carefully. This shift in attitude is driven by the increasing recognition in the U.S. of Taiwan's importance in AI and semiconductor fields. The U.S. is tightening its bond with Taiwan more than ever. Meanwhile, in China, problems are mounting. Recent events bring to mind the saying, "When it rains, it pours." Looking at recent events, it's clear how troubled the CCP regime is right now. The financial sector is in turmoil. Highwind Wealth China's third-largest wealth management company has created a 70 billion RMB hole. It manages 465 wealth management products, all of which are illegal. Isn't this blatantly exploiting the people? And then there's the case of the sudden disappearance of the CEO of an electronics company, taking 6.2 billion RMB of investors' money with him. These incidents occurred right under the CCP's nose, with no one held accountable. These events truly raise doubts about the regime's capability and integrity. It also indicates that the Chinese economy is still in turmoil and recovery could prove challenging. Meanwhile, in the United States, major moves are underway. The 2025 National Defense Authorization Act includes two key provisions. Firstly, it mandates the establishment of a drone fleet to counter China's human wave tactics. Seeing the increasing number of ships being built by China, the U.S. devised this strategy as a countermeasure. Secondly, and more significantly, cutting off China's oil supply. 70% of China's crude oil passes through the Strait of Malacca. The United States is now preparing to cut off all routes for oil shipments to China in the East China Sea, Taiwan Strait, and South China Sea. They also plan to involve allies such as Japan, the Philippines, and Australia in this effort. The United States has calculated this meticulously. They estimate that if China were to invade Taiwan, it would require the mobilization of 1 million vehicles, 2,100 aircraft, over 8,000 vessels, and 550 to 700 logistics ships and landing craft. Crucially, these operations would consume 56 million tons of oil. The United States' strategy is to choke off China's oil supply, making it difficult for the CCP to even wage war. By cutting off China's supply lines, it maintains strong defenses to prevent China from making reckless moves. On the other hand, it waits for China's economy to face further challenges and aims to disrupt its oil supply. Currently, China is plagued by internal and external troubles. Its domestic economic issues are mounting, while the United States maintains a vigilant stance externally. Xi Jinping is preparing to convene the third plenary session in July with a focus on economic rescue, a challenge unprecedented in the history of the Communist Party's rule. Unlike the era of Mao Zedong's Cultural Revolution, where even massive casualties were disregarded, today's economic stability is crucial for the regime's survival. However, rather than conceding, they are resorting to more covert and stunning tactics. According to rumors, the CCP is planning to use land purchased within the United States to secretly deploy up to 150,000 advanced high-tech drones. These drones are not mere toys. They are equipped with cutting-edge AI systems, with some potentially capable of being armed with nuclear weapons. The CCP's objective is clear: to sow chaos during the U.S. elections, strike at U.S. military installations, and even threaten U.S. nuclear deterrence capabilities. The inherent danger of this plan lies in exploiting America's openness and freedoms. Ordinary-looking farms, purchased by individuals connected to the CCP, could serve as covert bases for these aerial assassins. The year 2024's elections are not only pivotal for America's political trajectory, but may also become a critical moment in the power struggle between China and the United States.